3, 2, 1. What's up, guys? This is Keith Kelfis with the Untrapped Podcast, broadcasting live from Metro Detroit, Michigan.
Sir.
The home, the place where it's actually freezing outside right now.
It is.
It's freezing, dude.
It's brutal.
Down season, we got my good friend and buddy, Eric Reno, the founder of Paramount Building Incorporated, and the Roofolution.
Yes.
YouTube channel. Man, you just hit 10,000 subscribers. All of you guys know Eric from my videos, and Eric's crushing it on YouTube. Bro, fist bump. Nice to see you, dude.
Nice to see you as well.
Man, so I want to start out by talking about, you just got back from Chicago.
Yes.
Dmitry Lipinski from Roofing Insights invited you out, and you shared your story on the stage, and you talked about building a $5 million roofing company. You do real estate.
Right.
You're doing a lot of things, and I want you to talk about that, just get right into the meat and potatoes, but I also want to let everybody know that Eric started out from humble beginnings, dude. You've slept in your car, you lived in trailers, you've done all types of crazy shit. I remember back when we were younger, you were huffing bundles of shingles up a ladder all day in the baking sun, physically bleeding.
Yep.
To get to where you're at. And you were going to college at night, paying for it out of your own pocket. Like, I could get tears in my eyes thinking about.
I just knew something had to change, I had to do something. I didn't know what the route was at that time, but I knew it was something. So but once that's in you, that's what it's all about.
Everybody loves you, man. I was just talking to DJ Carroll. We just did the
Shout
Ignite
out to
event.
DJ, yeah, for sure.
And he's like, man, I just love Eric, dude. It's that hustle. Because you're not trying to front or be entertaining or anything. You're just being yourself and creating great value. So what happened at the event, man?
It was cool, man. It was, went down there and hung out with a lot of the guys the night before. I stayed the night in the hotel that we had the seminar at. And it was cool. I got up there, got to, tell a little bit of my story, a couple tidbits, had an hour. So I picked a couple select things that I thought would help give them a little bit of guidance, tell them tidbits of my story, as well as ways to improve your business that are a little bit unconventional, thinking outside the box. So I kind of went into the science of a yard sign and how I use them and how I literally crush my business using a piece of cardboard or corrugated plastic, whatever, vinyl, whatever it is. And then I went into a little bit of Google pay-per-click and my actual numbers for 2019 and how we changed my budget to 2020 and my actual budget, how much we're spending per month, what keywords we're marketing for, and things like that. I hope I was able to bring some value in that little amount of time. But it was cool to just be around all the guys that I talk to on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. So it's cool.
So you're a roofer around a bunch of roofers at a live event, and you're speaking and presenting on stage. You got your keynote presentation, and you were talking about all this. This thing that just popped up in my head is a lot of what you said right now didn't have much to do with the how to do actual roofing.
Right.
This is talking about a totally different level of thinking.
Yeah, it was a little bit more advanced. I didn't have a complete idea of the audience I was in front of, whether they were beginners, mid-level, $5 million, $10 million, $20 million companies. So I kind of just went with outside the box stuff that anybody can implement into their business, regardless of size, that most people don't think of because I've never seen it. I'm the only one that I've seen do these things. So a little bit of insight.
You're marketing your business with Google pay-per-click.
Correct.
These bandit signs. I notice, because we live 20 minutes away from each other, when I come to Eric's city,
oh yeah,
Eric's shit is all over the city. You have a billboard.
Yeah. As soon as you drive into the city, the only way in besides the freeway is my billboard's right there. And then it's yard signs and the storefront. And I try to be as dominant as I can in my space. So yeah, absolutely. So I talked a lot about that too. Different ways of marketing and things like that. It just depends on where you're geographically location. Like this is in Chicago. There was a lot of Chicago guys. I couldn't imagine being based out of Chicago where there's a million roofing companies and there's a huge downtown. So how do you separate yourself? So I figured I would give them things that could help them. So that's kind of how I went about it. It was only maybe a week notice of I was going to be there too. So that didn't help.
When you market your business, is it just an intuitive thing or do you just do whatever is required?
I think it's just learning over time, like studying the best, or maybe not, definitely not the best, but the companies that have the biggest budgets. I study a lot of what our manufacturers are doing. I look at my manufacturers' websites, the people that supply the shingles and a lot of the other materials, and what are they doing? Because they have millions and millions of dollars to back behind this advertising campaign and visual campaign and different resources. So what are they doing? Everybody wants to just throw up their work and say, hey, I do quality job, I do free estimates, licensed and insured. So is everybody else on the planet, right? What can I do to distinguish myself differently? And what are the biggest companies doing that are paying millions to put advertising into the market? How are they showing themselves? So I think there's a lot to learn.
Those are great questions. Now, what about the guy who maybe resists his business as far as like, man, growing a company that big and taking on all of that? People might ask themselves, here's the big question. If I can barely deal with everything I have going on right now,
right,
man, well, why would I put the gas pedal and grow it even bigger? How did you navigate through those times?
I think it was more just like do or die. Like if the calls are coming in and I can't handle the volume, then I have to bring people in and resources that can. So I kind of like grew with the customers coming to me rather than like growing a huge company and then bringing people in. Like it just getting bigger. So I had to build the infrastructure to take on that amount of water. See what I'm saying? So,
I always think about an ice cube tray in a sink, and if you like let the water go into one of the little cubes, it'll fill up all 12,
right.
like ice cube tray, and then it's spilling all over the place.
Right.
So you saw it was spilling. You just kept building bigger and bigger and bigger,
right.
more compartments to
exactly
more capability.
Exactly. And at this point, I mean, I'm pretty much max size of what I set out to do. I mean, I could scale to 10, 15, $20 million and run this big production company, but it's just not what I've ever wanted to do. You know, I want to be the best. I want to be able to deal with the customers and be with them one-on-one and help make sure that everything's good. So kind of like I guess I can't really think of the word for it.
Well, another thing is balancing a home life seems really cool on the outside, but there's years where you're literally in that truck 10, 12 hours a day for a long time, just quote after quote after quote after quote after quote. And the whole time you're in the truck, dude, you're like trying to drive with your knee because your phone is blowing up. You don't even got time to stop and use the bathroom or eat because there's that much demand on you. And then you get home at a decent time. You have a wife and 4 kids.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So last time we ran into each other at the mall for some reason. On Christmas, we were getting presents for our wives. So we hung out for you, me, and Chris Solville, the tree guy.
Yep.
We all know Chris. He's awesome. But you looked at me, man. You were like, I just want to be free.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
It's just the goal. That's why I do what I do. I mean, you can automate your business and take a less margin and do a few things and bounce back and forth and try to build other things. But to me, it's like I want to create this foundation that is so strong and so solid and take all the money that it's generating and putting into passive income, real estate, other companies, syndicate deals. I want to build this legacy out. And then at that point, then it's like, okay, it's time. So at this time in my life, it's like I'm 34. I want to work for the next 3-4 years. So, and I don't mind doing it and making these larger margins so that I can filter money into apartments and storefronts and the things that I have. So to me, the freedom is what would be, not at 65, not at 55, but at 42, 40, something like that.
It's interesting. Out of all the opportunities, why do you keep putting your money into real estate?
It's just a place that can grow and it's a place that's safe. Over time, it always have shown the market, whether it drops or goes up, over time, it's always going to improve. And whether times are bad or times are good, people need a place to rent. People need a place to live. So I feel like I'm not saying it's a bulletproof vessel. It fluctuates with the market. Sure, the value of the house will go down if a recession came, but will rent really fluctuate? I mean, people, if they lose their house, they got to live somewhere, so they have to rent a house. To me, it's all about diversifying the portfolio as a whole, not just houses, but apartments and storefronts and office suites and plazas and syndicate deals with other companies. So that way, and Paramount, so it's a full portfolio.
Some people might be listening going, how the hell is he doing all this? I can't really. So remember, I think it was a couple years ago, you're like, you had a couple vacancies and you were so damn busy. You had to let them sit there and just keep sucking money because you were so busy. So you finally hired a property management company to deal.
What a relief. I mean, geez, to do all that like in office. I was like, I have the girls in the office. They can coordinate all this and show the apartments. And no, that didn't work. And then it was to the point where we're so busy. It's like, we have to just focus on Paramount. We cannot do both. That's another thing. So then you bring on a project manager and then you realize how that works. So it's a constantly growing thing. You're growing on what you've built. So I think it's the same in business.
And then with all that, I've hung out with you before in the truck. We went around and made some videos and stuff, got some lunch. And for some reason, I pulled up in your driveway at the same time, obviously, as you. I was coming over your house, and I watched your wife and your kids all come outside, go, Daddy, Daddy, and and you're hugging them in the driveway. And I'm sitting in my truck with tears in my eyes, like, what the hell is going on? Like, your kids and your family's all running up to you, hugging you. And you talk about making a point to be home at the dinner table and stuff like that. Talk about that.
It's most important. As you grow older, I think it becomes more important. You see the kids grow, and it doesn't take long till they're adults. So I want to capture that moment, every moment I can with them, and it's all about them. You know, at this point, like before 5, 8 years ago, like I'd work on the roof all day and I'd get home at night, and then I wake up early in the morning and I'd go do it again. And it's like just working to put food on the table. And then now it's to the point where it's like, okay, I could make more, I could do more, but I'd rather be home by 5 and make them dinner and hang out with them. And it's weird how everything kind of changes as your picture grows. You know what I'm saying? You find out what's important. All the hustle and the money and the building companies, and this is what I love to do. I love to produce. But there's times where your kids are sick or something happens and it kind of triggers something that it's like, it doesn't matter how much money you have or how big your company is. Like if your kids think you're a piece of shit, or if you're never around, you're not there to talk to them, hold them, comfort them, then what is it really for anyways? What are you doing it for? So as I've grown, I just take it a little bit more important and at the front.
So with that being said, how do you know when is the right time to delegate or pass something off to somebody else that's taking up too much of your time and stopping you from being with your family? What's that decision? All right, I got to hire somebody else, or I got to take this risk.
Right.
Talk about that.
I mean, you could tell when it starts to rain in your company, you know, when shit starts hitting the fan, then you know there's a missing link, and you only want to do what you're really good at doing or what you want to do. So you're going to want to delegate the rest of those jobs out. So if there's something that's falling through the cracks, or there's too many repairs or loose ends, then you need to find somebody to take care of that. Or if you're out on a weekend picking up your guy's slack, someone's got to be accountable for that. So again, I think as you grow, like I've never put people in positions before the position was needed. I didn't just get a sales manager because it's like, oh, everybody's got a sales manager. I'll get one and then I'll find work for them to do. It's like there's an overflow. I need this. And then I hire them.
Right, so you wait till it starts getting like bing, ding, 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 ding. Like,
right.
This,
right.
Okay.
Or I can see there's like opportunity we're missing out on, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, we need to bring in somebody that just does this because it's a huge opportunity that we're not capturing.
Just to kind of just throw this out there, everything that you're talking about is provided that there's enough money and profit margin to be able to support the infrastructure and hiring that person. Because if there's not enough money to do it, and you do it and you're losing money, that doesn't make sense.
Right. Yes. So it's all, again, fed by the dollar. So that's why the dollar is very, very important in the beginning when you're starting to move and get stuff together. And then it becomes equally as important, but it's just not the highest on the priority list once you're in a comfortable state. Not comfortable as in like you don't need, you know, to keep going, but as in like you don't have to be gone till 9 o'clock at night anymore.
And we got a story popping up in my head. I'm just letting it pass.
There's a lot of them. It's been a while.
So, but one thing, this is a whole nother topic. You were just sharing some plans for your brand, The Roofolution, and how you'll be launching this whole thing in the near future and bringing people into your academy. And there at some point you're talking about like preparing in case something bad happens, like trusts and wills and securing your legacy and foundation to make sure it doesn't all just get. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, man. That whole part of it is probably one of the most looked over things. And I don't know if it's ever been taught in any course that I haven't purchased any courses myself as far as like in my own industry, but I've never seen anybody really talk about that. Like if you own a corporation or a company and it's doing $2 million, $3 million a year, you're married, the company's only in your name, something happens to you, that goes to probate court. All the funds are locked up for 6 months. It's got to make it all the way through. So during that month, your company shuts down. Nobody gets paid. None of the receivables are received. None of the payables are paid. And where does that leave your family?
It's a disaster.
It's a disaster because you didn't properly plan for it.
My buddy Scotty, people hear me talk about Scotty. He said something interesting to me. Because he's building his company and getting around some really wealthy people. He's got like a friend who's like a billionaire. And he was saying that, you know, if you got $1 million liquid in the bank and you die, you just handed off your wife $1 million nightmare. Mm-hmm. like $1 million liability. And that's like not the most, but it's like an abusive, this is me saying this now from what I interpreted because I don't remember, but that's like, if you really want to do an abusive thing to your family and put a lot of stress on their plate, then go out and become wealthy and don't have any of this stuff set up.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like, as you grow and you meet these high-level bankers and financial planners and insurance specialists and attorneys, like, they bring this stuff to, do you have a will? Do you have a trust? Do you have life insurance? Does your life insurance, does it cover enough to where if something happens to you, like, your family's not going to have to sell their house and move into an apartment? When they first brought this stuff to me one by one, I'm just like, man, yeah, they're right. What kind of legacy would I leave if I did all this great stuff, I died, and then it's like they're poor as hell? Or they get my life insurance check, but it's not enough to survive, and then they have to sell our house, and then they have to go figure it all out. Like, I better plan this out for them, or me and my wife planned it out for them, but just in case. Or who does your kids go to? If something happened, what if something happened to both of you at the same time? All this stuff has to be planned out. So, yeah, in the Roofolution, it's definitely, and I bring in my experts as far as my financial advisor, my insurance, my lawyers, my accountants, and all that to describe it better than because I only know what I know, which is the surface. But it's super important. It's something that I feel that everybody overlooks, so.
You know what I'm feeling, or this underlying tone is about manning the fuck up and drawing your line in the sand and realizing how valuable this is, not letting people walk on you, guarding your time, your clients, not doing shit for peanuts anymore. Right. Because at the end of the day, when your life is over and you're either an old man or woman or in a hospital or dying or whatever, and now your whole family is fucked because you didn't handle all the shit because you were worried about Mrs. Jones and all this little bullshit of the petty shit.
Or the opposite, where you were just gone all the time, just making money. And then it's like, what time or what pictures are left? There's none because you're gone. So it's both sides of the coin to make sure that my job's fulfilled, regardless of what happens to me, and not to be ignorant to think that nothing could possibly happen, like it could. So it's like, people be like, oh, I don't want to pay $75 a month for life insurance. It's a waste of money. Well, hopefully it's a waste of money, but you don't know for sure. So it's worth $75 to me. It's a piece of my mind. But it's something that needs to definitely be discussed, even though it's not fun to discuss that kind of shit.
There's some things I want to talk about. I'm just not going to talk about. God. And deep, I know you guys, deep. I know you guys listening to this right now. Listen, you listening to this right now, I'm speaking to you. You might be thinking some thoughts or things. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, good. If you're not, I'm not going to talk about it. But if you're thinking certain thoughts right now that are making you frustrated, that are having to do with your business and your situation, you're not alone. I'll just put it there. All right.
Yeah.
More of the Untrapped podcast continues right after this. Hey, if you're looking for what is probably the greatest software ever to run your business on, go to getjobber.com/Keith. You can create proposals, invoices, collect payments, even track your entire business directly on the Jobber smartphone app. And if you want to get a totally free trial of Jobber right now, open your browser, type in getjobber.com/Keith. And if after the trial you decide you want to sign up with Keith's link, you'll automatically get 20% off your first 6 months. So what are you waiting for? Go to getjobber.com/Keith. And once again, here's your host, Keith Kalfas.
So, and those thoughts for a clue if anybody else is like, well, what if my business isn't even making enough money to be able to afford to do all this shit? What the hell?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a process, man. Everybody wants to know how to get started. It's all started small. Amazon started small. Apple started small. Under Armour, everything started small. So it's just they figured out a way or a niche or a way in and did it. So I think that's what you got to focus on. If you're in that position, we all started there. There's a way. Somebody does it. Somebody dominates it. Just got to figure it out.
That's dope, dude.
Yeah.
Man, there's so many directions that we can go. Here, this is simple. Let's bring it back to tactical. Company branding. You got a shirt on right now for those of you in the video on the Untrapped podcast.
I feel like I always wear the same shirt every time I'm here.
It's a nice work shirt. It has your logo. It has your name. Your truck is logoed out. Yeah. Your equipters, which is these like hydraulic things that the guys throw all the shingles in. They're like these robots. Those are logoed out. Everything that you do is all has imaging and branding. Talk about why that's important and positioning.
Yeah. I feel like it's a hard one because even when I was at class with Dimitri, one of the first things I talked about was nobody knows your brand, nobody likes your brand, and your brand doesn't mean shit. The logo doesn't mean anything. I use the example of if I was standing outside the Kroger in my hometown where I've done tons of work, there's billboards everywhere, trucks, trailers, yard signs, my storefront, everything's there. And I just had the Paramount logo, the lime green mountain. And I stood outside and said, hey, do you recognize this? I guarantee 95% of the people would have no idea what that is. Yet, people's yard signs, the entire sign, as big as the logo is. On the truck, it's just a logo. Nobody knows what the logo is. So when you're building things and you're building your brand, you have to keep that in mind. All that matters is how to contact you and what you do. On flyers and stuff, you can add the Facebook emblems and the Google emblems and whatever your certifications are if you dominate in that space, Angie's List, things like that. But it's got to be balanced. Everything's got to be balanced. Mine's black and neon green, so it's very noticeable everywhere you go. Everything matches, and it's clean, but it works. And I've filtered out things that don't work. And my trucks are all getting rewrapped right now while we speak. I'm redoing my website. This is all old. It's getting completely redone. My trucks, trailers, vans, equipters, all that stuff is getting all redone and updated just from things that we've learned and takeaways from comments that people have made. So
I'm tagging you on Instagram right now, Eric_Reno.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yay. Eric_Reno, Untrapped Podcast. When you go to Eric's office, it's funny. I went to your office and you go and you sit down at this table in the middle of the lobby. And your accountant is sitting there with a laptop asking you questions while he's doing stuff. And then you have your assistant asking you questions. And then you have somebody else. And then you have one of your foremen come in. Then your sales guy. And you're sitting at a table with people all around you. And they're executing and taking actions. But you're sitting there cool as a cucumber. They'll be like, Eric, what do you think about this? We have to do this thing and it's urgent. And you'll be like, well, what did they say? And then they're like, well, it has to be like this because of this. You're like, okay, then do this, this, and this, and just handle it. They're like, oh. And then this next person, Eric, what about this? And then it's interesting. It's almost like you're like an orchestra conductor, but you have to be in this very specific state of consciousness in this place where...
Yeah, I think it just kind of builds because at the beginning, you're wearing all those hats. And then you pass off one hat, and then it's like, I was already there, so I know what to do in that situation. So you're kind of just, as hats are added and being removed from you, you still know them, but you have the same experience to delegate that.
I wish this was live so people's questions and comments could come in.
No, I've been wanting to do something like that, man.
Guys, this is my podcast, so you're going to chill for a minute because I'm legit right now. I ain't even playing. I'm plugging this in, and we're going to go live right now. We're doing it.
Let's do it.
Plug in this thing. We got this cam link in the studio here. If you've seen on Instagram at Keith Kalfas, we got to at least go live on something.
Let's do it.
So while I'm doing this, talk about the importance of paying taxes and making your company legit, how you can be stuck being a chuck in a truck, but getting over that hurdle. Talk about all that.
Yeah, taking cash. Everybody wants the fast cash. Nobody wants to pay Uncle Sam. Well, it always starts that way, and as you grow, some people do it that way forever, and it works for them. For me, I don't really take too much cash. I have to claim it all. I pay a lot in taxes, but my company's physically worth something. I could sell my company because my tax returns are legit. I can get lines of credit for $250,000 because they're legit, or probably more, because they're legit. There's legitimate numbers and there's legitimate back history of the company, of its growth. Everything is grown and it's certified, it's verified. So, and I know it's a shady area, but to become legit takes time, and to make sure that you're paying and turning down cash takes time too. But in that time, that's what you're going to use when you want an apartment and you need to put 25% down. You need to bring in $400,000 to closing, and they're going off loan to value, and you need to cover that cost, and you need to get the loan from the bank to do that, or to remortgage these and buy more. They're going to constantly be checking on your returns. Do you make enough money for the bank to lend you $1 million? And if you want to do that, you want to invest in real estate, and you don't have proper tax returns, tax forms, and things like that, it would slow it down for sure. I mean, they're not going to, if it says you only make $100,000, they're not going to give you $5 million. So,
and you've done so much of this and so much real estate. It's like just obvious. You can't even imagine being the other way, just stuck.
Yeah. But I mean, for a while, it took me a long time to get my first house because I did it option one way. we just rented, and we rented houses, and when we rented, we overpaid because the mortgage is always going to cost less than rent. We overpaid for that reason because I didn't want to pay taxes. I was like, it's a mind shift if you're in that space like I was when you're getting paid cash to work and you're not claiming anything. It's hard to write those checks for 6 figures and send them away to the IRS and watch them get taken out of your bank account. Now I enjoy it because I guess I don't particularly enjoy it, but it's like, wow, we're making money. We can afford to pay them. Our books are right. Receivables, payables, balanced. So we can do this.
You legit have an accountant that works privately for you and is in your office all the time.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Instead of going to your accountant once every quarter and talking to him on the phone.
Yeah, so I have a full-time bookkeeper. I guess she's part-time. She's there 3 days a week. And then my accountant oversees everything. He comes in bi-weekly, 2 times a month maybe. Talk to him all the time on other businesses that we do together. But yeah, absolutely. It's important. Plus, like Equipters, like for roofers, man, Equipters changed the entire game. If you can't afford to buy the Equipter outright.
What is an Equipter, so people listening?
So an Equipter is a machine. It's a dumpster that moves and drives itself. So you kind of stand in it. You stand on the outside of it. You start it, and it drives around the lawn while you stand on it, like a ride-along lawnmower. And it lifts up 12 feet, and it can lift out. So the dumpster can be on a 1-story roof. The dumpster would be on the roof with you. And then it comes back down hydraulically, and it drives to the dumpster, and it dumps. So that way we're not just like putting shit all over the yard. We're not carrying stuff from a backyard to the front yard. We're just pushing everything into the dumpster. The Equipter, it's driving around and it hydraulically dumps into a dumpster. But these things are useful tools. And if you don't have your money right and your taxes aren't right, then you're not going to be able to get a loan for them. Now, a little bit further is you wouldn't want to cash one of those out anyways, because as of today, 2020, and the way I understand taxes is that you can depreciate any piece of equipment over 1 year since Trump's passed this law. So if your exposure at the end of the year is $100,000, you owe on $100,000, then you'd subtract that full amount. I think the Equipter's $32,000 if you get it all the attachments, something like that. It's been a little while. But you can depreciate the entire Equipter. So all the interest you're paying on the loan is free. And the amount that you're paying on the Equipter, the $32,000, is taken off of 1 year's tax exposure. So it lessens your taxes by $30,000. Plus, every piece of interest you're paying is going to be written off. Therefore, and it advertises for you, so therefore it's almost free.
Oh.
But your taxes got to be right.
So you're thinking from a totally different, you're thinking from an abundance perspective.
Yeah. Reduce your tax liability legally, and then you can logo it out so that you can advertise from it.
Yep.
And it makes it's free. It's a free tool.
But in the beginning, you didn't see it that way. You're like, oh my God, $32,000.
Yeah, years
machine.
ago when I seen them, I was like, oh my God, spend $32,000 on a dumpster. You don't realize the value. But again, as you grow and you understand taxes and you get around accountants and people that know, legal loopholes is what I call them. I'm not a CPA. I don't have any tax advice for you. But as you learn these loopholes and depreciating equipment over 1 year, it helps out.
Yo, we're on the live stream right now. I just want to say, give me a thumbs up if you can hear us. I'm with Eric Reno right now on the Untrapped podcast. And
they see this screen or they see that screen?
They can see what's coming through that camera.
Oh, gotcha.
That's a monitor for us for a viewing reference.
That's why I keep looking up, because the camera's right above it.
Right
above it.
Yeah. So we're just in the studio right now. We are live. And the reason we're going live right now, guys, because we're on the Untrapped podcast, and so we're broadcasting live to Facebook because we want a couple questions for Mr. Eric Reno.
What up, yo?
What up, yo? Now I see why Joe Rogan and stuff has a producer, because trying to be the producer and the show host at the same time. Instagram, Eric Reno. You see any questions on there, Eric? Can they hear us?
It's still loading. I don't know.
Right down here.
Oh, yeah.
What's the most critical thing a new business owner should... Austin Joseph Douglas says, what's the most critical thing a new business owner should know? What's up, Mark Russell? All right.
As in what?
Well, we'll go back to what you're talking about a new business owner should know. So from your perspective about being legit and looking at things from the long-term perspective versus just right now, I need money.
Right, yeah. Everything's long-term. Everything you think about's got to be long-term. As far as like your vision for your company, who the people that you're adding to your company, the way you're structuring your taxes, liability, insurance, comp, all this stuff I know takes time to build because it all costs money. But it all has to be written in your business plan, whether it's on paper or in your head. You got to make sure that you're forecasting for your dream. So if your dream's to own 50 or own a company that has 50 employees, 3 salesmen, whatever it is, that you're building that all the way from the beginning to the end of where you want to get to. So don't lose that vision and don't shortcut things because it's a cheaper way. I guess that would be kind of what I would say. My vision from the whole time was not to build the biggest company, but the best company. And that's what I wanted.
The best company. Matt Berry, what's up? Any tips for beginner YouTubers? Eric just hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Look at his channel.
Yeah, I got some advice for you. Make videos once in a while. Unlike me, I got to get back on that.
Make videos. Just do it.
I'm trying to build the Roofolution platform, so it takes time.
Trace Prissack, I hope I said it right. What about being in Florida and everyone does the lawn care? So how do you make your business stick out in a large metropolitan area where a lot of other people, there's a lot of competition?
That's how it is here. I mean, if every street you go to, there's a roof being done, there's a roofing company parked in every McDonald's here. It's the same thing. You have to think outside the box. You have to do different things. Yard signs, flyers, the way you do things, the way your branding looks. Do you send thank you packages or gifts for referrals to your clients? It's going to have to be a volume and scale factor, and you're going to have to figure out what works and what doesn't work. There's definitely no silver bullet. Each market's completely different. Each business idea is different. Brands are different. So you have to figure out what works for you. So it's almost like the guess and check method.
Oh, here's another good question. Roger Dean Pryor, how much should you spend on marketing each year?
See, I don't know. People say 10%, 5%, 2%. I think as much that keeps you, as much money it takes to keep you full. I mean, I'm under 5% of what I spend, and it's enough to fuel my business and everybody in it. I don't think there's a set number. This is deep because you have to know your numbers. If you're putting money into Google pay-per-click, Facebook ads, Angie's List, or whatever else you're doing, the local newspaper, you need to know your cost of customer acquisition per revenue stream. So what does it cost per customer from Facebook? How credible is that lead or how credible is that customer? And you want to figure out the margins. What area are you producing the highest amount of margins in? And you just kind of want to keep sticking to it. Just keep sticking to it.
So you guys can catch the whole episode on the Untrapped podcast, keithkelfis.com/podcast when Eric talked about this. But when you go into Eric's city here in Michigan, he's got a billboard up, and then there's yard signs, there's stuff everywhere. It's hard to miss his company because you've got saturation.
Yeah, and I mean, do you think anybody calls because of that billboard? Probably not. It costs me $600 a month. It doesn't generate any business, but it's a big roof. It says, it looks pretty much just like something like this. It's one more thing. When they get a flyer, it's like, oh yeah, I seen them on the billboard. Oh yeah, I seen them in the yard sign. They're connecting the dots. They're all pieces to the puzzle. I mean, it's all trial and error. But as far as like online marketing, you have to know the numbers. You have to mark every time somebody calls, you should be asking them, how did they hear from you? Put a tally on it. What's your close percentage per stream and how valuable is that customer?
Interesting. Here's a good one. Blake Tuttle asks Eric Reno, how do you get the employees to think long-term along with us as the business owner?
Yeah, it's tough, man. They have to share your vision. I think a lot of the guys, if you bring them from the bottom as in they're any less of a person, but from a starting position and you bring them up and they're sharing the vision with you. Some people just want to check. They're going to go to the work every day. They're going to do their job. They're going to leave, and there's no training them to think any otherwise. But there are guys that will share that vision. They want that company growth. A lot of my guys, I work on a Christmas bonus, but it's a percentage of what they've sold or a percentage of 5-star reviews they've gathered. So at the end of the year, if it's 2.5%, 5%, 7% of whatever they did, that way they're constantly pushing to the next level. If they're just getting paid hourly and there's no bonus, there's no incentive for them to work harder or do more, then it's hard for them to share that vision because they're not you. They're not driving around in that nice F-150 or whatever it is that you're doing. So you want to make sure that you're constantly taking care of them and buttering them all the way through because they're the ones that are the face of your business, not you. You can sell all you want, but if the guys doing the work are half-ass, it's going to kill you.
So you take care of them. Well, it's part of a team. Like then you're talking about culture now.
Yeah, you're talking about culture. Yeah. Give them iPads, keep them on the network, keep everybody connected, give them bonuses. The small things, show up to I'll show up with the crew and be like, all right, we're going to lunch today. Like it's on me. Let's go, find a steakhouse. Let's roll. And it's like, or I'll get up there and work with them. I'll grab a hammer and tear off bar and start tearing shingles off with them. I started there, so they're no less than me. When I get it there, it's not like everybody has to freeze because the boss is there. I'm like, what up? I go up, shake everybody's hand, walk up the roof, and while I'm there, it's the same as if I wasn't there. But I think that's how you do it.
That's dope. We got another question coming in. Joseph Nettleton. What's up? Guys, if you're just joining in right now, we got Eric Reno. Just hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. He just spoke in Chicago. He's got a $5 million roofing company, does real estate, all types of stuff. And now he's thinking, so what's up, guys? I'm going to do my maintenance accounts, 13 years, losing motivation. It's time to hire. Any advice for hiring? Just get it to the bottom line thing, hiring advice, because
hire the best, man, and don't be afraid to pay them a little more and take care of them. We went through this at Dynasty where we started with just trying to get it going.
Dynasty's is other business that...
Yeah, but we do military fab and things like that. But then bringing in the best, I mean, the top-notch guys, paying them a little bit more. I mean, our company's just exploding now. So
talk about the reciprocal of what happened when you guys weren't hiring the best and you were just trying to... The difference.
It's not that the guys were any less. It was just like we didn't have that like long-term thinking, that mentality. The guys weren't coming in hungry, like with the proper training and talent to do the work. So... It shows to your customers when you guys show up and they're smiling and they're like, yeah, you know, Jim Jones takes care of me. You know, the owner's a good guy, and they're not just like smoking cigarettes, throwing butts on the ground, like trying to get the job done as fast as they can so they can get home. They're taking their time and willing to put in the extra work, and they're skilled and they have the talent to do the work. And sure, it costs you an extra $3, $4 an hour, but is it worth it? Because they're going to tell your friends, and tell their friends. It's all every customer is worth 3 customers, so you got to always think of that. They'll multiply.
That's dope. I like it. Okay, Josh Sennett says, Josh here with Got a Guy and Girl Landscape Maintenance. What's the best free, cost-efficient option to jumpstart your marketing other than social media?
Like offline marketing?
Yeah.
I do a lot of flyers. I mean, we do springtime flyers, get ready to move product. Obviously, your truck's logos, yard signs are huge for us. If you do a proper yard sign, you do it the right way, you can literally crush it off a yard sign, putting it everywhere that you do and leaving it up, even if you have to take a little bit, a pay cut. Like sometimes I'll put, if the customer doesn't want it in their yard, I'll give them $250 off the roof if they leave it there for 30 days. So depending on the margin of your job, you can just say, hey, I'll just take off $3 a cut.
That's dope.
If I can
so I'll give you a discount if I can get this. Your yard signs are fucking huge, though.
Yeah, 2 foot by 3 foot, takes 2 stakes to put it in.
No, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I like it like that. But they don't have to be ridiculous. You know, it could be a normal sign, and you're just saying, hey, $2 a week if you just keep my sign up all summer or spring, and some people will go for it, some people won't. But if they're getting something out of it too, then...
I never thought of it like that. You know, do HOAs, or did they get upset?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain places we can't put them in. You know, we'll put them up anyways, and they'll just take them down. But pretty much as residential, you can put it up. We do churches, we'll put it outside the church, just put it in the landscape. I mean, it's important.
Stick around. Keith returns with more of the Untrapped podcast in just a moment. Have you been thinking that it's time to really market your business in a more effective manner? Keith has spent years testing tens of thousands of dollars on marketing and advertising, and he is just amazed that the 7 most powerful marketing strategies that he's ever found are surprisingly low cost, and some are even free. He distilled down everything that he's learned into a 7-step guide and wants to give it to you for free. If you'd like to download the free guide, it's called 7 Steps to Marketing Your Business, then simply go to keithkalfas.com/7steps. That's keithkalfas.com/7steps. And of course, the link will be in the show description. The Untrapped podcast continues.
Oh, look at this. Matt Berry, one of your videos where you turned me on to Upwork has changed the game for me. Yeah, Upwork.com, hiring virtual assistants. Here you go. Angel Paz. I use my house as my shop. Should I add a price as shop in my overhead, as I will need to rent one eventually?
I don't think until it comes, unless there's actually like people working in your house and coming to like gather supplies and parking their vehicles there, unless it's an actual, you're using it as a home office. I know a guy that has his roofing company. He has a barn in the back, and the secretaries are in the barn. Everything's in the barn, just like it's a physical location. But I would work on getting that office and warehouse. That changed my company overnight. I was so nervous about that, like taking on, how can I take on this debt? How can I sign this lease for X amount of years? Now it's like I wouldn't give it up for nothing.
Your storefront.
Yeah, my storefront. I would give it up for nothing.
Doesn't happen overnight, right? He only asks because he wants to own the market in his area.
That's what domination.
Task Easy. Do you know what that is? I've heard of it. Chris Crunk, Tyler Peterson, Ray Ramirez, Ben Hill, Jerry Michael Tennant, MGIA, I don't know. Here you go, Daniel Olson. I added admins to my company recently and feel like it has helped my business out big time by freeing me up to do sales and marketing, etc. What do you think are the next steps to scale from here?
in my company, I would add more, probably I'd use Google pay-per-click as a vessel, and I would add more money into that to bring on more sales reps so that you can multiply yourself. Or if there's an area where you could capture, like it's part of your business, but it's not kind of part of your business, but you could capture it, I would definitely start looking in there and starting to grow. That way you can scale.
So sales reps. Having actual sales guys out.
Absolutely.
Because I know
feeding the fire of advertising, whatever's working, because obviously something's working for him. Whatever's working, put money behind it and make that fire huge. Once you're to the point where you can't handle anymore, then you have to bring somebody else in, and then it's double. And it keeps growing, and it keeps growing, and it keeps growing.
Interesting. So I know that you were out 10, 11 hours a day just in your truck.
Yeah.
You had like quote every hour on the hour in all these different cities. So you got a sales guy for sure. I met two of them. What are your sales guys doing? And talk about the process of how you went from you doing all the sales. And didn't you believe that nobody else could do it like you do it? Or did you have those thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I'm the owner, so it's easy for me to go in and say, yeah, Paramount's my baby. I built this. You'll be dealing directly with me. Here's my card, personal number. And it makes people like, wow, the owner's here to meet me, and I just have his personal number. So that helps. But with them, like one of the guys does strictly all the insurance stuff. So that was what I was kind of saying to that last question is we were capturing some insurance work, but we were missing out on a lot because I was so busy with retail stuff. I didn't have time to meet adjusters and write up Xactimates. So I found somebody to fulfill that area. So, and that brought another $1 million a year in business. Same with the flat roofing. I knew flat and shingles are different, but if I had a flat roofing expert I could trust, an older guy that been in the game, that knows the game. So now I just send him out on those leads. He quotes them, does the job. Same with John. So there's a bunch of us that kind of own our own sector in Paramount, and they work as much as they want because it's an unlimited amount of money. It's just how much do you want to do it? Because we'll always put more money behind it if it's working.
Why was I thinking so linear in that? I wasn't, like you're thinking geometric.
Yeah.
Dude, you're fucking smart, bro. Sorry for cussing on Facebook. Hope I don't get in Facebook trouble.
Facebook Hall of Shame.
Thanks, Jeremy Revitzer, Nettleton, Jim Prom, Steve Pelsinger. You can't run a good business being greedy.
That's true.
Any advice on to increase returns on EDDM marketing? Here you go. Timothy Brandon Tanos. What about someone with 5 years auto industry experience making six figures jumping into roof sales, willing to put work in, but wondering about down-to-earth expectations and the length of time to reach $5,000 per month at least? Can you make good money doing roof sales?
Oh, dude, some guys that make $250,000 a year. I thought about just doing roof sales, not even doing Paramount. I was just going to do roof sales.
Just go be a roof salesman.
Yeah, because then I don't have to deal with anything on the back end. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of courses. There's a lot of different information out there of training to sell and how to maximize, adding on additional things like insulation, siding, intake, outtake, learning ventilation, adding soffit. There's so much upsell. There's so many moving components with roofing where people just want to sell the actual roof. There's every job, at least there's 3 things besides the roof that can be done with.
Yeah, you have your builder's license. Do you have to have that to be a sales guy?
No, you have to have a sales license to be a sales guy, but you have to have a builder's license to pull a permit. You can't do a roof without pulling a permit.
Interesting.
But the owner probably has a permit.
So, because you've been through this whole thing now, you're like, well, I could just go do sales and crush it. It's interesting. Yeah. Mauricio Perez, can you guys talk about credit for your business, please? Always great listening to your podcast. Blessings from Indiana. Thanks. Talk about
credits.
Business credit.
It's the most important thing. I mean, there's very few things that are as important as having credit for your business. Again, it goes back to the first things we were talking about with tax returns and not cheating and not taking cash and paying the IRS, paying your payroll, paying at the end of the year. And that way it shows when they print out your 1099 or your W-2 or whatever it is for the end of the year. It says that your company's actually worth money. You're a working American citizen that's paying taxes. And then banks will give you a line of credit. And maybe it'll start at $50,000. And then in 2 years, you'll go to $100,000 and $100,000 to go $250,000. So that's how I did it. It was the transition from the cash guy to claiming everything so I can build credit so that I can buy houses and apartments and storefronts and everything else that I want to buy in life.
So you use your business and credit, and now you're doing real estate. You've started another company, got a commercial storefront, the one with the
shopping plaza. Yeah, there's a lot, man. Yeah.
So how do you run a company and have a wife and 4 kids and manage real estate and do all the shit and be here right now?
Delegation. Yeah, delegate. Make time. I mean, as far as the family and kids go, it's time. That's all they need is time. So you have to take it out no matter what it is. And if it's a short amount of time, that's fine. Like while you're building your companies and you're growing and you're out there hustling, get it. As long as you take the time and it's quality time. Like if you're playing, I have girls. So if I'm playing Barbies while I'm like scrolling Facebook on my phone with people and doing emails, like that's not time. Like time is to like put the phone away, let it charge and sit, and it's one-on-one in your face. And I'm helping. And maybe I only have 45 minutes, but I'm going to make those 45 minutes as fun and count as much as I can. And same with your wife, your kids, or any other people in your life. It's so important. And I mean, it's something that you miss out on. And all of a sudden they're 10 or 12, 15, 17. You're just like, man, so that's important to me.
And just to recap real quick, Eric, you started out with nothing. You lived in
less than nothing
in the trailer park. You slept in your car before. You had kids young, and now you built a $5 million company, and you have a lot of stuff going on, and your kids are all growing up. And also, you just hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
And now you're getting asked to do speaking engagements.
Yes.
And you got a brand called the Roofolution now.
The Roofolution, it's coming.
That's awesome. All right, we're going to ask one more question, and then we'll wrap this up. We've been on here for a while. If you want to get the full episode, go to the Untrapped podcast on any podcast platform, iTunes, Stitcher, Anchor FM. What's up, Dylan Brannon? What's up? He was at the Marketing ROI.
Yep.
Speaking of Marketing ROI, my wife is down at Somerset Mall in Troy right now looking at an event venue for 2020 Marketing ROI live event.
Dang.
We're looking at this September, which you will be speaking at, Eric.
Let's get it. A lot of hunting to do in September, though. You got to figure out.
Here you go. Dylan Brannon. What's up, Dylan? He was at Marketing ROI. How about to get financing for fourplex for $500,000 or under?
It's a commercial lender, probably not in Michigan. I would hook you up with my guy. But there's a commercial lender that will do that. Chemical Bank is who I use for mine, and they've worked really well with me. Typically, it's 25% down, and it's yours as long as you have the tax backing, again, to make sure that you can fulfill the loan needs. Typically, it's 75% loan to value is what they'll finance you for. So whatever they feel that it's worth, they'll finance you 75% of that, and you have to come up with the remainder of the payment. But it's great, dude.
And then your strip mall plaza, did you go in with partners on that one?
Yeah, that one's more of a syndicate deal. So I'm kind of like a silent partner. I put in money with no obligations, and we renovated it. We're putting renters in there for a year, and then we'll flip it off to an investor, and then I'll get my money plus a percentage for carrying that loan throughout the 16 months.
I don't do real estate yet, but I don't know why Eric calls me up. He'd be like, dude, I'm nervous, man. I'm about to write a check for $100,000 for this. And then you do it, and for some fucking reason, it always works out.
Yeah, it always works out. But I mean, I'll tell you the story of my very first rental, right? I went to this lady's house, and her roof was shot. The inside of the house was shot. And she's like, yeah, my mom lived here, and she passed away, and I live over here, and I just don't know what to do with the house. And I was just like, how much do you want for it? She's like, well, they offered me 15. So I was like, all right, 15 grand, done. So I'll cut you a check for 15 grand, quick claim deed, ran a title check, and that was it. And I bought this thing for $15,000. It was right before winter, so I had me and my guys went in and renovated it. I mean, we're not drywall experts, cabinet experts, but we figured it out. Threw a floor in there, and I've gotten $1,150 a month for that thing for the last 5 years. So, I mean,
that's dope.
They don't always work that way, but I mean, when you're quoting jobs and talking to people and they say something like, this is so-and-so's house or so-and-so's getting old, we might sell it soon. I'll always say, well, how much do you want for it? Before you sell it, ask me before you get real estate agents involved. And
nice.
You'll come up on them.
But we're about to wrap up here, and I want Eric to tell this one quick story that really summarizes the hustle for Eric. And this was years ago. You were kind of nervous because you were in the expansion phase of your company and you had a crew working. One of the guys had hooked up the trailer or something, and they backed into a customer's garage and blew out and destroyed part of the garage and all the bricks. And instead of you panicking and sticking your head in the sand, tell that story.
Yeah, so actually there was a driveway with an incline, and the 20-yard dumpster full was sitting here, and then the garage door was closed. And me not checking, I went to move the dumpster, and the guy didn't put the hatch down on the hitch. And I was like, is it down? Are you sure it's good? So as soon as I pulled forward, that thing rolled up with me about 5 feet, then it just right into the garage door. And it was a condo association too. And the owner of the company was in California. And I was just like, man, what am I going to do? I didn't have the knowledge I have now or the connections or people to fix it. I didn't know what the hell to do. So I just sat there, thought about it, and it's like, okay, I got it. I'm going to take care of this. We're going to make it happen. So I called a garage door guy. I was like, I need you here in X amount of time, whatever it costs. We fixed the brick, we fixed the ledging, replaced the siding, we cracked the light, the drywall on the inside. I just like started like lining people up to make this happen. And when the owner came back, I didn't tell him it happened till 2 months after, just because it wasn't me not telling because I was scared to tell him. It was just like, I got this. Like, when you're gone, I got this. You can trust me in this. So I was like, I wanted to wait to see if he, like, the customer found out, or because we told the customer it happened. But yeah, it was never. And then I was like, you know what happened when you were gone?
So it destroyed someone's property, but that you jumped on it and just fixed it.
I had to. I mean, you can either go into padding mode and cry about it and call and be like, sorry to ruin your vacation, but I just put a dumpster through somebody's garage. Or you can just handle it like a man and get it done and learn from the process. Like, from now on, if you hook up something to my truck, I'm going to get my ass out of the truck and I'm going to make sure it's right, make sure the safety chains are on, and then I'm going to get my ass in the truck. So it was just like being in a rush, hustling, trying to get it, and then you just make one mistake and then you lose the whole profit for the entire week. So
that's huge. Right
we've
there.
all learned lessons like that.
Oh, dude,
that was a tough one though.
When it's like high season and that you got 20 things going on at once and an urgent thing to get to.
Right.
If you let yourself get to where you're rushing in a frantic way, that's when something gets broken.
Exactly.
So that's the best time to calm down.
Calm down.
We got this.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. All right, guys, thanks so much for hanging out live with us on the show. We've consistently had, 40 people on here? We did hit like 60. This is awesome. Eric Reno, founder of Paramount Building.
Yes, sir. Thanks,
Good
man.
friend ever since we were.
Thanks, guys, for jumping on in the comments, man. I hope I was able to quickly help you out as much as I could.
And check him out. Go to Eric Reno on YouTube or Eric_Reno on Instagram.
Facebook,
where else could people
wherever.
find you?
Facebook.
Dope.
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
And you're going to be posting more YouTube videos. You hired a cameraman to follow you around.
Yeah, I hired a videographer because I'm just sick of not posting videos. I just literally don't have time. Like I make them and I never edit them and I never post them. So now it's like 3 hours a week, somebody's coming with me to just film me while I do what I do.
So for those of you guys that want to make videos, I don't know if I should hire a cameraman.
Yeah.
I'm sick of having the guys that work for me, hey, hold the camera for 5 minutes and stop working so I can make this video.
That's a cheap cameraman, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've done it a lot, and then I got an editor that helps out. But, all right, what's up, YouTube? Oops. I'm posting the YouTube stories real quick, guys. Sorry. What's up, YouTube? We're on the Untrapped podcast right now with Eric Reno.
Let's go.
And he just hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'll tag him, check him out, but that's all I can fit on there. So, all right, guys. Peace. Later. Oh, hey.
Yo. Sweet.
You got to play the outro music, man.
Got to.